If you look ahead at the 2025 Dallas Cowboys, you figure out that chances are it will look like a very different team. And a big reason why is because there's many players who might be about to play their last down of football wearing the star. Tonight, we'll talk about 7 players who might be in their last dance, and we'll assign return likelihoods for each of them. Let's get to it. Here we go. What is up, everyone, and welcome into A to Z Sports Dallas Primetime. I am your host, Mauricio Rodriguez, streaming with you live every Sunday and Thursday night at 8 p.m. Central. Tomorrow, by the way, we've got a guest joining the show. We'll talk some NFC football. But in the meantime, we catch up with these quick-hitting videos Monday, Tuesday, and Wednesday. And tonight I thought, hey, why not discuss some of these players that might be playing their last down of football as a Cowboy in 2024, right? I'm talking about those players who might not return to the franchise. And we're going to talk specifically about 7 of them. I wrote about it for AtoZSports.com. You can check out the link in the description to the article if you want more thoughts or you want to check back on it later. And I assigned a return likelihood from 1 to 10 for each of the players. And we'll start with the big names, but each of these guys are starters. So we're not talking about a backup. We're not talking about a third stringer or something like that. There are 7 starters that I could think of that have at least a certain degree of possibility of not being around in 2025, whether that's because they're going to hit free agency or in the case of somebody that's on the screen right now, because they are seemingly considering retirement. And we'll talk about it all, ladies and gentlemen. Let's get to it, man. Let's get straight into it. You can let me know in the comments, by the way, from 1 to 10, the return likelihood that you calculate for all or at least some of these players. Let's start with the big name, obviously. Let's start with Dak Prescott, quarterback. Here's the thing. If you followed the contract storyline for Dak, the reality is you don't know what is going to happen because I don't think anyone does at this point. It's blurry. The Cowboys go out there and they say that they want him back, that they really are all in on bringing Dak Prescott back. Jeremy Fowler from ESPN recently reported that they are likely going to prioritize his deal over even CeeDee Lamb, who, spoiler alert, is not on the list, even though he'll hit free agency in 2025. We'll just assume that will get done. So stick around for the other 6 players. But Dak Prescott is in a situation where it's only fair to wonder if he is open more than we think about just leaving Dallas. And leaving Dallas for several reasons. Number one, that maybe he feels like he shouldn't be talking about a hometown discount. He shouldn't be talking about a contract in his contract year, but rather he should have been extended earlier. It's the second go around in a contract negotiation versus the Cowboys. And it's a situation where he's seeing that the team is not very proactive about going all in free agency, in the trade world, all that. He doesn't know who the head coach is going to be next year, doesn't know who the defensive coordinator is going to be next year. So there is, up to a certain point, a lack of planning for the future where Dak might be thinking about going elsewhere as well, right? That's a possibility. But mostly, I think that part is overblown a little bit. I think mostly it's simply about the leverage that he holds at this particular moment. It's a very powerful position to be in as a Pro Bowl, All-Pro, second in MVP voting quarterback, to have this ticket to free agency that no one can keep you from cashing in, because no one can do it. There's no franchise tag that the Cowboys can use. They cannot trade him. He can hit free agency if he wants to, and he can exploit that value. And he might reset the market in a much more crazy way than we could even imagine if he reaches March 2025 as a free agent. So there's some risk there. However, I told you just last week that I still fully expect the Cowboys to get this done. I think it just doesn't make sense not to get it done. So return likelihood, and I might be being optimistic here, but I'm going to go with a 7 out of 10. So 70% chance of returning for Dak Prescott, just because I believe the Cowboys don't have an option. And at the very last moment at least, they're going to sign that blank check, and they're going to make sure they have a franchise quarterback beyond the 2024 season. Now, number 2, player on this list, we cannot keep ignoring the guy on the thumbnail, the guy on the screen right now, Zach Martin, right? All-Pro guard for 9 seasons. This might be his 10th, if we include the second team honors at least. Zach Martin has been talking about retirement, right? He recently told the Dallas Morning News that he wasn't 100% sure he was going to do it, but that it was a strong possibility. And he said he doesn't want to commit to the whole discourse about him potentially retiring after the 2024 season. But this is not the first time that we hear this is on Zach's minds, right? There were some rumors a couple of years ago when they were like, hey, with his family and all that, he might be thinking about hanging it up. And I've said this before, the timing is kind of right because his contract is going to expire. The Cowboys might spend big time money on keeping Dak, Micah, CeeDee Lamb. They already have Tyler Smith, who they're eventually going to have to pay. They have some guys on the offensive line that could take over when he retires. So the timing in several levels works because if Zach doesn't stay in Dallas, does he want to start anew? When he's already thinking about retirement, does he want to start anew elsewhere, or he just wants to stay home and continue with his life? I think the timing could be right. So considering the retirement discourse, I'm setting the bar pretty low for a return likelihood. 1 out of 10 for Zach Martin. I genuinely think this is the end of the road for one of the best offensive linemen in NFL history. Future Ring of Honor member, future Hall of Fame member, Zach Martin. We might be witnessing the last dance of Zach Martin. Number 3 on the list, and these are not in order, as you can see. Otherwise, we wouldn't have gone from 7 out of 10 to 1 out of 10. But another big name on the list is DeMarcus Lawrence. Man, I'm setting the return likelihood, and you can tell me if I'm too high or too low. 4 out of 10. Here's my logic. I do expect the Cowboys to get the Micah Parsons deal done. I just do. I know about the noise, right, about the Cowboys maybe having some problems with how he behaves and all that, with his attitude and all that. We've heard it repeatedly from 105.3 The Fan, for example. Brian Broaddus recently said on the radio that they were not making it up. He insisted on it. So, hey, who knows? There might be some larger truth to that we know of. But there's no way you let one of the best defensive players in football get away. Absolutely no shot, in my opinion. So I expect that to get done. If they do get it done, are they also going to pay DeMarcus Lawrence in 2025? Because he's going to hit free agency, and he might not command $30 million per year or 25 even. He might come in a little bit under the market just based on age and based on pass rush production. But that doesn't mean he's not one of the most complete defensive ends in the league, which he is. And he's one of the best run stoppers in the league. So it's going to be tough, in my opinion, to pay him what he's going to end up getting in the market. Additionally, the Cowboys drafted Marshawn Yland in the 2nd round. So there's a replacement that you're already grooming. You don't know who's going to be the defensive coordinator, so you don't know exactly what type of defensive ends they're going to be looking for. I'm going to set it at 4 out of 10. I think it's going to be tough to pay DeMarcus Lawrence because I don't think he's going to be cheap. He's not going to be top of the market, not going to be cheap though. So I don't think the Cowboys get Parsons and Lawrence paid in the same calendar year, which is likely what it would take for us to get there. Another big name on the list, but maybe getting into one tier below the top 3 names that we just discussed, Osa Odighizuwa. Listen, it's not about his talent level. On the contrary, I think Osa is somebody that you would want to pay. But I keep going back to the big 3 deals: Dak, CeeDee, Micah. And salary cap wise, I'm convinced they could make it work. But there are some legitimate questions about the cash that the Cowboys are going to want and are going to be able to spend in players beyond these big 3. Also, Odighizuwa is playing at a position where the average top 3 paid linemen are earning $32.3 million per year. That's interior defensive linemen, guys. It's blown up. And the reason it's blown up, it's because there's some 3 technique that are amazing pass rushers and that are able to manipulate pass protection schemes almost as much as an elite pass rusher. I think DG is going to end up asking for more money than the Cowboys expect. I think he's going to get hit free agency. And I think the Cowboys are going to put in an effort, but I think they end up losing a bidding war. Return likelihood, though, 4.5 out of 10. So below 5, because I didn't want to ride the fence, although I will later on the show. We'll get there. 4.5 out of 10. I think it's likelier for him to be out of the Cowboys than in the Cowboys in 2025. Next name on the list, Jordan Lewis, cornerback. It's a tough one to figure out for several reasons. Number one, he's good, but he's also not top of the league at his position or anything like that. But he gets the job done. It's difficult to say that for a nickel cornerback in the NFL. Some coaches, including Bill Parcells, currently describe this as the most difficult position in the sport because they're fitting the run, but they're also worried about the vertical from number 3, from number 2. It's a tough job, period. But it also would be very cheap to keep him. And he's proven to be a solid starter, and that is a lot in today's NFL. Now, it's also difficult because he's going to be 30 years old, or he's 30 years old, excuse me. And Mike Zimmer is on a 1-year contract. Does the next defensive coordinator want a smallish nickel or not? It's going to be tough to figure that out. So I'm going to set it at 6 out of 10 just based on the price tag. He's going to be cheap. I could see the Cowboys bringing him back regardless of who's the defensive coordinator. They've proven to us that they like him, including bringing him back this year. So 6 out of 10 for me. Next on the list, we've got 2 names left to go. I'm going to go through them a little bit quicker here. Brandon Cooks. I'm going to set it at 4 out of 10. Same as with CD Lamb and all that conversation, right? You're going to pay CD big time money. Can you afford somebody like Brandon Cooks? Especially because by 2025, we're going to be thinking about the Jake Ferguson extension as well. So it's going to be a situation where the Cowboys are going to be very picky with how they spend money and why they spend it, in which positions they spend it. I'm going to set that one at 4 out of 10 because, again, I don't think he would be unfeasible because Brandon Cooks is not going to command a lot of money at 32 years old, which is what he's going to be in September of 2025. But still, I think the Cowboys look elsewhere, though, when they start preparing for it in 2025. So 32 years old, give me 4 out of 10. And finally, the one player that I did ride the fence with, 5 out of 10 return likelihood, Brian Anger. Feels like a coin toss to me, man. He's going to be 36 years old in October of this year. Does he want to keep playing football, first and foremost? Because I don't know if you remember this, but we just saw him win the Pin Challenge, the Golf Challenge, the Pro Bowl games. He's looking ready for retirement, man. He's ready to go. But in all seriousness, though, he can keep playing if he wants to. Do the Cowboys want to pay him that amount of money at 36 years old, right? Maybe like $3 million per year, which is what he was earning on his current deal. Or do they go cheaper? Do they go younger as they try to financially reset the way the team is set up? We'll find out soon enough. He's the one that I struggled the most with, ironically, because he's the punter. But, you know, age in the NFL is a funny thing. You never know what players are thinking. So there are my return likelihoods. Let me know in the comments, where do you think I got it wrong? Is there anyone that I missed? Let me know. And I'll see you tomorrow night live on the show, Thursday, 8 p.m. Central. We've got Mike Payton, Detroit Lions expert, joining the show, and we'll chop it up. We'll open the room more, and we'll talk about the NFC in general. So make sure you tune in. Hope that you enjoy. Thank you, and bye-bye.